and about in my practical daily driver. I've got a clutch that actually works. How long for, who knows. However, there's a weird noise. Welcome to Microblast Services. A dramatic transformation. The weather today is awesome. Just in time for pizza. It went all down my arms. Never mind. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Haze, and today you join me out and about in my practical daily driver. Alright, she's not a practical daily driver at all, but she is loads of fun. Now, the main stop that I'm going to be making today is to visit Sam and Alan at Microblast Services, who have been super helpful in the past, sandblasting and powder coating a variety of bits for all three of my Escorts actually. But today I'm going to be dropping off a couple of bits for Heidi, my hearing aid beige model Mk2 Escort, one of which is going to be getting bead blasted, which is another one of the services that Microblast Services offer, and one part that I'm hoping is going to be a good candidate for their Cerakoting, which is a coating that they can apply to parts that are subject to immense heat, like exhaust parts. I have been spending a bit of time on Heidi's Crossflow behind the scenes, so I can bring you up to date with that when I get to the garage later, and I'm hoping to have time to continue doing some bits on that engine as I try and get it back to the state it was in before I had to end up taking a few steps back. Now, before I go to Microblast Services, I do need to go and see my platers to drop off some bits and pick up some bits, because they close a bit earlier than Microblast Services do. And I'm also hoping to pass through and see Carlo, the precision engineer, to hopefully pick up Heidi's flywheel, which is being re-skimmed now that I was able to, well, I say able to get the dowels out. I got one of the dowels out and snapped two of them off in there. So I'm hoping that Carlo's been able to drill the other two out and skim the flywheel fully. So yeah, loads of running around to do. I'd also like to get the rear tyres on this thing replaced. I've already got the tyres. I just need to take this thing down to the tyre shop to get that done. So yeah, it'd be cool to get that done as well. But you know, it has already gone midday, so that's a lot of running around to do in the time that I've got left. But either way, I'm just happy to be out and about in this thing. And now that I've got a clutch that actually works, how long for, who knows, I can actually feel the acceleration on this thing, which is awesome. The rear end is a little bit sketchy because I've still got budgets on the back, but as I say, hoping to rectify that situation today with a quick stop off at my favourite tyre shop. But yeah, now that the clutch is working properly, now that I think I've solved the oil leaks from the engine, I really need to get this thing down to Santa Pod to see what it can do on the quarter mile, because I haven't actually taken this thing to Santa Pod, well, I haven't run it down the quarter mile since it was in primer and since it had a Pinto lump in it. And I just think with how quick this feels compared to Maud, my other ST170 powered Escort, this must be somewhere in the 13s, because I have done a 14.01 if I remember rightly in Maud. Nope, it was actually a 14.29. And Maud just feels so much slower than this. She's got 30 horsepower less, she's a lot heavier, being all metal. So yeah, I think this should be somewhere in the 13s. I don't know where. And you know, that 14.0 that I did in Maud, it was once. So, you know, it could be called a fluke, but we'll see. Right, so a bit of time has passed since the last clip. I have already been to the zinc platers and picked up and dropped off what I needed to. And before I went there, I actually passed through my other garage to pick up another thing that I want Carlo, the precision engineer, to have a look at. So I will definitely be passing through to see Carlo after I've been to Microblast Services. And what I'm going to be dropping off to him involves the clutch. Now, the clutch is working amazing now. It doesn't crunch. You know, I'm really happy that I'm able to change gear fast without any crunch, etc, etc. However, there's a weird noise, you know, when it's in neutral, when you're not pressing the clutch, and it goes away when you lightly ride the clutch. And when I say lightly ride it, I mean an amount where you're nowhere near at risk of the clutch slipping. So what I think that is the fact that the rod on the slave cylinder is slightly short. So I'm going to do something, I'm going to ask Carlo to do something that loads of you guys suggested, and that is to make me up an adjustable slave cylinder rod, essentially. Now, I don't know if you can hear that squeak, but if I lightly lean on the clutch, it goes away. If I come off it again, so the noise is there, if I slightly lean on it, it gets a bit louder, so hopefully you'll be able to hear it if you can't now. It gets a bit louder, and then a little bit more pressure, and the noise goes away. And I'm literally not even leaning my weight of my foot on the pedal, so it is very slight. So I think if I get Carlo to make that clutch slave cylinder rod as long as the standard one, at its sort of shortest adjustment, and then with the potential to lengthen out maybe 10 or 15 millimeters, that will be absolutely fine. So that's the plan. But right now, I'm going to make my way to Microblast Services in Windsor. Welcome to Microblast Services. Alright, so just dropped the bits off to Microblast Services. They were super busy, so I didn't want to stick around too long. But basically, I've dropped off Heidi's inlet manifold, which is going to get bead blasted. And Sam very kindly gave me a little demonstration, just briefly, to show me what kind of finish I would end up with on the inlet manifold. And as you can see from this clip, the before and after is a dramatic transformation, and he was actually saying that you might be able to get it looking even better by DAing some of the areas that are sort of corroded and then re-blasting it. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how the inlet manifold comes out. And I've dropped off the cast exhaust manifold that was very kindly given to me by my friend Dale, because the one I had wasn't that great, and the guys at Microblast Services are going to Cerakote that black. So, you know, it'll have a really hard wearing and heat resistant coating, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing how that comes out as well. As usual, I will leave all the links to Microblast Services in the description. They're based in Windsor. Definitely get in touch with them if you need any sandblasting, any powder coating. They also do normal wet painting of parts and stuff. They do bead blasting and they do the Cerakoting. But they don't only do car bits. It's amazing the variety of stuff that they get involved in. I mean, when I was chatting to Sam briefly just now, he was saying that he had these sort of machines out of hospitals that are going to get blasted and then painted. He had some sort of bases which were from a company that produces speakers that were going to get blasted and powder coated. There's usually loads of sort of garden furniture, you know, your bench ends and things like that down there that they get involved with. So yeah, literally anything that you need blasted and coated, they're the guys to go to. So definitely get in touch with them and let them know that I sent you. The weather today is awesome. Earlier on, when I was indoors, knowing that I was going to have to go out in this thing, it was absolutely chucking it down with rain. And I sort of waited till about 12 noon and, you know, it brightened up a bit. But right now, it is really sunny. In fact, I'm going to lose the beanie hat. Oh, the MH beanie hats are still reduced on my website, by the way, at marcushazeuk.com. Just type in discount code WARM, W-A-R-M, at checkout. I know some of you guys watch from around the world and, you know, your seasons don't align with ours. So if you're coming into your winter time right about now, then yeah, lucky you, you can get a discounted MH beanie hat if you would like to grab one. Welcome to Aaaand Sons Precision Engineers. Alright, so the hydraulic slave cylinder rod has now been dropped off to Carlo. He hasn't finished sorting out Heidi's flywheel, but he was explaining to me how he's going to go about doing it, and it's actually really interesting. So when I do pick it up, I'm going to get him to explain all about that. And we'll explain exactly what he's going to do to the slave cylinder rod to make it adjustable. He's actually made me realise that I probably need to shorten the slave cylinder rod and not lengthen it, because the noise that I can hear when I'm not touching the clutch pedal is probably the release bearing slightly being engaged. So I'm hoping that if he makes me an adjustable slave cylinder rod that I can adjust to make slightly shorter, then it will bring the release bearing off of the fingers of the clutch and then the noise will go away. I've actually got him to make me 2 different pieces for this adjustable rod that he's making me, so that when the time comes I can experiment with my theory, which I do now think is wrong, and his theory. But I'll explain all about that when the time comes. But yeah, as always, really interesting to catch up with Carlo. I love his machine shop. He's got literally every machine you can think of, and yeah, he was showing me another one today that he's actually going to use to sort out Heidi's flywheel, which, as I say, I will show you when I pick up the bits, hopefully in the next week or so. But he is busy, and I have said to him, at your leisure. I'm just grateful that there is a machine shop like Carlo's, local-ish, that I'm able to utilise. Now, I'm actually going to make an unplanned stop now to Inky Autos to see what's going on with Heidi's doors that I dropped off to him. I dropped off 2 passenger side front 4-door Mk2 Escort doors, and he was hopefully going to make 1 good door out of the 2. And I haven't heard back from him, but to be fair, I have changed my phone number, so he might have been trying to get hold of me, I don't know. Welcome to Inky Autos. It looks like I'm just in time for pizza. All right, well, Inky and his boy Harry were super busy working on Steve's Volvo turbo-powered Sierra, so I didn't want to get in their way too much. Inky hasn't had a chance to have a look at Heidi's doors yet, but that's absolutely fine. I'm certainly in no rush, and it was just cool to check in with the guys at Inky Autos. I will, of course, leave their links in the description for anyone in or around Uxbridge that needs a decent mechanic. Well, the weather took a turn for the worse while I was at Inky's, so we got some wet roads to deal with. And as I mentioned earlier, I've got budgets on the rear, and I've just realised I'm not going to have enough time to get to the tyre shop today to solve that issue, but yeah, I can deal with that another day. Alright, made it to the other garage, and I think I'll start by giving you a little look at these zinc plated parts that I picked up today. We've got the alternator bracket here, which was given to me by my friend Dale. Massive thanks again to you. We've got the air filter bracket thing. I actually only got one of these zinc plated before, so now I've got this second one, although I do still need a third one. If anyone out there has got one they want to sell me. I've got these, which are the locking tabs for the front brake calipers, and yeah, these are the ones that came off of Heidi, and they've got this weird sort of dust shield on them, so yeah, I thought I'd reuse these rather than just using the generic ones, which are basically only this piece. I've never seen ones like this before. I'm guessing this is what Ford would have fitted from the factory, maybe, but yeah, other than that, got a load of other fixings and hardware, couple of bits for the carb, which is down there. I'm still determined not to rebuild that. So yeah, another bag of goodies. And when I was at the platers today, I did drop off a boot catch, which was very kindly sent to me by Gary Ball, my carbon guy, so massive thanks to you. I'll just chuck these bits out of the way for now, and I can tell you what I've been up to with Heidi's lump. As you can see, it is now upside down on the engine stand, and that's because the other day I replaced this sump gasket. Obviously did the sump gasket before, but because I basically changed the crank seals and stuff after the fact, the sump gasket got ruined, so I had to redo it. And this time I've actually used one of the competition sump gaskets. It's made out of a much stronger material than the cork on the side pieces, and then it's got the normal rubber pieces that go around the crank. Now, I haven't yet torqued up the bolts for the sump, because when I do these sump gaskets, especially when I do them upside down on an engine stand, I like to just nip the bolts up and then come back another day to torque them up. So I'm going to be torquing those up in a minute, and then I can turn the engine back up the right way. And yeah, I'm hoping to refit the cylinder head today, because I've also cleaned up the face for the cylinder head already. I did that the same day that I fitted the new sump gasket. Now, according to the Haynes manual, these sump bolts need to be done up to 8 foot-pounds. Well, it's between 6 and 8 foot-pounds. I'm going to do them up to 8. Not sure what order you're supposed to do them in, but I suppose your two options are to start at the 4 corners and then gradually work your way in, or start at the middle and gradually work your way up. But when I nipped them up, I've done them gradually anyway. As long as you don't do one bolt up full before you've even started any of the others, you know, as long as you do them up gradually, it shouldn't matter too much. So I think I'll start at the corners and work my way in. And then I'll just check them all. Lovely. All right, so before I flip the engine up the right way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some brake cleaner and just spray it in the holes where the head bolts go, just so that if there is any debris in those threads, it will fall out with gravity. But yeah, once I've done that, I'll flip the engine up the right way, and you can see how clean the gasket face is looking from my work the other day. It went all down my arms. Never mind. Alright, so as you can see, the gasket face is really clean. I gave it a decent scrape and then gave it a rub with some sandpaper and then cleaned it with some brake cleaner. I've also hoovered any debris out of where the pistons are and just hoovered all these holes in general. And then, as you would have just seen, I've brake cleaned where the actual head bolts are going to go. So apart from another quick wipe, that, as far as I'm concerned, is good enough. Although, loads of you have been advising me that I should put some oil in where the pistons are. Yeah, just because it's going to be dry in there from sitting for years, and then that will give the piston rings a bit of lubrication when we do first start this engine up. So I am going to do that. and then I'm going to crack straight on with fitting the cylinder head. I poured some fresh engine oil into a lid and then turned the engine over by hand so that all the pistons were halfway down the bores. I used my finger to liberally coat the inside of the bore walls with oil, and I definitely went a bit overkill, but the excess oil will just burn away when we first start the engine. I gave the gasket face another quick clean with the Kent Europe brake cleaner, and then it was time to throw on the new head gasket, making sure that it was orientated the correct way so that all the holes on the gasket lined up with all the holes on the engine. I was now ready for the cylinder head, which was fully refurbished in this video with help from my friend John. I carefully lifted the cylinder head onto the block, making sure that it was lined up with the gasket. A Crossflow lump has 10 head bolts, 2 of which are shorter, and they go here and here. I gave all of the bolts a squirt with the brake cleaner before dropping them into place, and then after a quick wiggle on the cylinder head, they all dropped down properly into their holes, and I could do them up by hand. Alright, so all the head bolts are now done up hand tight only, and I now need to torque them up to somewhere between 65 and 70 foot-pounds is what it says in the Haze manual. And you basically start from the middle ones and then just move your way out, going diagonal, something like this, until they're all done. So I'm going to do it in a couple of stages. I'll go to 50 foot-pounds first. And what I'll do now is I'll just check that they are indeed all at 50, and then set the torque wrench to 70 foot-pounds, and we'll just double check them again. Job done. Alright, cylinder head is on. Some of the keen-eyed among you may have noticed that I reused the old head bolts. I'm sure it will be absolutely fine. I was actually hoping to get the head bolts zinc plated, because on a Crossflow you can see these five rather, even when the rocker cover is on, and I thought it would look really cool if these were silver, you know, a nice contrast against the black. But quite a few of you got in touch to tell me that zinc plating can actually make the bolts brittle, so I thought I'm not going to risk it, and all I'll do is I'll scotch up all the black paint on the cylinder head, mask up all the gasket faces again, and I'll give it another coat of the gloss black Hobbycraft paint, and then, you know, the bolts will get repainted again anyway, and it'll all be nice and fresh. But that can wait for another day. It's worth noting as well, in this Haze manual, which has the page missing for the bolt sequence, which is why I went and grabbed this other one. This is a Mk2 one, this is a Mk1 one. But yeah, in the Mk2 one, it says on the cylinder head, it says the head bolt should be done to 52 to 56, then wait 10 minutes, and then do them up to 66 to 71. And then once the engine's warmed up, recheck them again. So I think I'll wait 10 minutes and then just double check these head bolts again, and then I'll just remember that once I've got the engine running and once I've, you know, checked the valve clearances, which I have to do when the engine's warm, just to recheck the head bolts. But yeah, that's for a later date. But really interesting that these two Haze manuals contradict each other. I mean, in the Mk2 one, it tells you to do the cylinder head in stages, and as I say, wait and recheck it, and then recheck it when the engine's warm. But in the Mk1 one, it literally just gives you a reading 66 to 70 foot-pounds for the head bolts, and interestingly it calls them head nuts as well, which is very strange because they're not nuts, they're definitely bolts. But there you go. I mean, both Haze manuals say that they should be torqued to 70 foot-pounds, and that's what I've done. So obviously way more work to do on this engine to get it back to the state that it was in before I started taking steps backwards, but we have now officially started stepping forwards again, which is good. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes, so let's check that these are still at 70. Happy days. Now we'll cover this up, and that's how it can stay till I come around here next. Now I was planning to take Maud, my Maud Mk2 Escort, home today, but seeing as she's still tucked away in Esther's garage, we'll take this not so practical daily back home this evening. so after a fun run down the motorway, not breaking any speed limits of course, I've now made it home and it's time for me to get myself ready for a super late gym session. Today has mainly been just running around, you know, a bit of a day in the life. Had to visit various companies that are helping me with bits on my car, but I'm also glad that I did manage to make a small step in the right direction on Heidi's engine, and hopefully within the next few days I'll get some more bits back from some of the people that I saw today, and yeah, I'll be able to put Heidi's engine back together once again and actually get it ready to fit into her bay. I will of course leave links in the description to all the companies that I've mentioned in this video. Do mention my name if you do contact any of them, because it really helps me out when these companies know that they are, you know, getting business through helping me out with bits on my cars. So I'm going to end this video here and get myself ready for the gym, as I say. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe if you're new. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, TikTok and Instagram. Check out my website for merchandise and car parts. Massive thanks as always to my patrons for your ongoing support. I'll leave all the links to everything in the description along with my email address for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.